All right. I'm starting to use Facebook Live, which I'm not used to using. I use Zoom for our classes, but this allows a lot more people to log on and for it to be just posted on the Facebook page for anybody to use in the future. So people are joining us now, and I won't say anything important for the first 2 minutes and let people join in. Um, let's anyway. Let's see if it's working all right. I'm gonna ask Michelle to text me if it's working. Last time we used Facebook Live is in the middle of a storm, and it kept conking out, but I think it's going to be all right. Okay, good. Crystal helped too, so both Michelle and Crystal have confirmed. And by using the chat on the right, you can ask questions, though I think you want to hold off on questions till I say, hey, any questions, just because I'll miss your chat while I'm um, going. Okay, well, this is directed towards people who passed the notary exam, received a notice yesterday that they passed. I will say that it still should be useful for people in the future who haven't heard that they've passed yet, because these are the steps that you need. Some of this is on the Secretary of State's website, but I found it confusing there, in part because they kind of say, how does a lawyer become a notary and how do you, as a non-lawyer, become a notary? And it would be nicer if they separated out those steps and were clearer about it. I'm only going to refer to those who took the notary exam and are non-lawyers, and the steps that they need to go through to get there. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Okay, good, good. Okay, so yeah, you can hear me in Bossier of all places. Okay, so let me tell you some steps. First of all, it takes about 4 hours the next day for the Secretary of State to get an email from the LSU Office of Testing of who passed. So they get the pass list basically after you do. By now, though, they should have it. So therefore, your account should now show a little circle that says upload commission documents. That's how you know that they are have received notice that you passed and they're ready for you to start the process of becoming commissioned, which is all what we're talking about tonight. I will say that uh, you, if you didn't get that, if there's no circle, then I think you need to call the Secretary of State's Notary Division office tomorrow. Though they're going to be swamped with a lot of calls, so they may not answer right away, or they might have to get back to you. But tell them that LSU has notified you that you passed, but you're not seeing that on your account yet. So you're using the same account that you used to register. And remember that number, that notary registration number, that's 6 digits, somewhere around a 199 or something like that number. That is actually your now notary ID number. And knowing that means you can order stamps, and I will get to that later. Uh, be clear, though, that that is not a bar roll number. So later I'm going to emphasize when you order stamps, make sure that the stamp you're buying doesn't say bar roll number and then use that. It has to say notary ID number because I'm talking to the non-lawyers. All right. Now, these commission documents that you have to upload to become a commissioned notary, they can also be done in person in Baton Rouge on Archives Avenue. So you could go there. I don't think you save any money by doing that. Certainly is faster. So if you're in Baton Rouge and you want to show up and give them the documents, you can. But you certainly can upload them. Now, a lot of these documents, when you get them online, and I'll tell you in a second where to get them, come with a cover sheet that's a fax cover sheet. Just take that off and ignore it because they don't really accept faxes anymore, or that's not an efficient way to do it if they do. And you definitely don't want to keep printing out a bunch of stuff you're going to throw away. But every one of those commission documents comes with a fax cover sheet on it. In fact, I think most notary documents for the Secretary of State's office have that tax cover sheet. You don't need that because you're uploading directly to the same account where you registered, bought your study guide, and you see a little space, upload commission documents. Don't click on the upload commission documents till you have them all ready to go as PDFs that you can upload. And I'll go through each one of them now. So first of all, there's on the left column where it says get notary forms. There's probably about 15 or 20 listed there, but the two you need to download are the signature sample form, or maybe it's called signature example form, something of that sort, and the oath of office. Those are the two forms that you need from them to fill out and then return to them. I'm going to talk about each of those in turn. There's other things you have to upload, but those are the two that start with forms from the Secretary of State's site. First of all, I'm going to talk about the oath. The oath of office. It seems like you need two copies or two originals of it. And you would need two originals of it if you are going to do this in person at Archives Avenue, because you're going to leave them an original and you need another original for a process I'll mention in a minute. But for most of you who are uploading to your site, you will only need one because you're uploading a PDF scan of the original and you're keeping the original because you obviously can't really give them the original on the upload. This oath of office has to be signed by you in front of an officer who is allowed to accept an oath of office. I'll go over that in a second, but you should wait and let them fill it out if they have experience doing that, because it's a little tricky. It has two places where it says parish. One is the parish where you're taking the oath, and the other is the parish where you're going to be commissioned, and that is the same parish where you filed your original documents and where you vote or where you consider your domicile, where you're getting your commission locally. Even though you're going to have statewide jurisdiction, you have this kind of local affiliation, if you will, that everything's done locally, but you can practice anywhere in the state without changing your commission or anything of that sort. So the oath of office, though, who are the officers that you can take the oath in front of? Most people take it in front of another notary public. That's fine. But you can also do it with a justice of the peace, with a judge, with the governor, if you're friends, and a few other officers in the state government. Ironically, not the lieutenant governor. We had a student last year who passed, and he was friends with the lieutenant governor. He executed the oath of office with his friend, and the state rejected it. They actually looked at it, saw who signed it, and made him go back and get a notary public. So I met him at a Burger King, and did his oath of office with him, and he became a commissioned notary the next day. So don't use the lieutenant governor, even though the governor is fine. Yeah, but most people go to a notary public. Now, I'm suggesting you could pay a notary public 15, 20, whatever dollars to execute your oath of office, and that'd be fine. But there are plenty of us who volunteer to do it free. The easiest way to find out who will do it for free is to go on either of the Facebook groups, this one or the other one that Denise Turbenton operates, and maybe just search Jefferson if you're Jefferson Parish, or search Ascension if you're Ascension Parish, and what will pop up is a post from somebody, maybe in the past, but somebody who's volunteering to be that. Not just an attorney, they'd have to be an attorney who is also a notary. And some attorneys are, and some aren't, depending on whether they've decided to do that. Michelle's an attorney who's also a notary, so she could have done it. But you can't just ask an attorney. You have to make sure they're a notary. But if it's a friend and an attorney that you feel comfortable asking to do it as a favor, that's fine. But there's a lot of free people who volunteer, and they list themselves as volunteering on the websites. And the easiest way is search your city, your parish, your locality, and probably somebody will pop up and says Denham Springs, and they'll say, I'm in Denham Springs and I'm happy to do your notary for free. Now, they may be 2 or 3 years old, not them personally, but their post. And for that reason, you might want to write them directly and you say, be very nice. Is it still true that you do this favor? I'd really appreciate it. And they'll probably say yes. And then maybe meet them at a Burger King or go to their office or find a way that they would do it for free for you. And really need one original of that because almost always you're going to then scan it in to a PDF. You might have to go to an Office Max or someplace that scans for you to do that, but you want it scanned as a PDF that you can then upload. Uh, yeah, and Joanne Landry is nicely logged on and a former student of ours who's obviously willing to do that. Um, an attorney who is a notary can do it, but not all attorneys are. But Joanne's saying if you're in Thibodeau, she's got you covered. Lots of people will do it for free, and I think you'll find somebody who can do it for free, but it probably won't cost that much if you do go to a notary shop or a notary who's an attorney. They might even do it as a favor because they're so happy for you that you passed and they're ready to help out. We all are in that situation. I know that I've seen recently posts that talk about Kenner and talk about Denham Springs and talk about, I think Walker, somebody posted on it. You're going to find people who are there for you. All right. One other thing to say about the oath of office is technically you're supposed to swear and do that, but you'll find that most of us doing affidavits um, don't make them raise their hand or use a Bible necessarily. You really just need to impress upon somebody when you're signing an affidavit for them that they understand that it's under penalty of perjury and that they are under oath. And that is enough for them to be under oath. And that's true for your oath of office as well. On that form, it asks you to list an office address and a home address. And if you do have two separate work addresses and an office address, uh, yeah, I don't know if the district attorney is a notary, but if he or she is, then Tori, that would be fine. My recommendation, though, is you do list both of those addresses if you have them, but you can write in the margin, please only publicly release my work address, or please only publicly release my home address. You don't have to live with publicly releasing this information. Uh, then, so then the oath of office is uploaded, though I would wait and upload all your documents together when they're ready. But you also have to take that original and within 1 month, file it in the clerk of court of the parish in which you're being commissioned. It doesn't matter where the oath is signed. There's a space for it to be signed in Orleans Parish, even if you are you going to Tangipahoa Parish to be commissioned. But that's got to be filed in the clerk of court. Now, they could charge you $100, and some clerks charge $100 to file this, others don't. They may have a standing policy and you can't get around it, but this is my idea for how to at least maximize your chance of not having to pay $100. I would go in there and say, I'm becoming a new notary, and they say that you have to accept my oath of office. I would not say you have to file my oath of office. I'm not sure which is technically correct, but if they accept it and they put it in a file, then that's good enough. And you could say, I've heard on the notary boards that many parishes will waive $100 fee for this. I'm really hoping you will do that for me. And either they'll say we can't, or they'll say okay. And I would try for that because it's $100. If you've moved parishes since taking the test, you probably want to talk to the Secretary of State's office before you go through this process so that you only wind up filing once and paying one filing fee. But that's a really good question that Chelsea asked. And you want to just kind of, same with a name, if you've changed names, if you've gotten married, you probably want to do all of that now with the Secretary of State in the process of getting commissioned rather than waiting and, filing, getting commissioned, and then changing it. Um, I'm not sure that Chelsea has to file a change of parish because she hasn't become a commissioned notary where she's changing parish. So that's the kind of thing I would ask the Secretary of State's Notary Division. I haven't yet declared, I file all my preliminary forms with X parish, but now I'm in Y parish. I would like to make sure that I can get commissioned in the right parish and I don't have to file twice. And they'll tell you how to do that if it's possible. The next thing besides the oath of office, again, is try to ask them if they will accept the oath of office and not have to pay a $100 filing fee. And they may well be willing to do that. That's how I did it in St. Tammany Parish. I just walked in there with mine and Michelle's oaths of office when we changed parishes and said something to the effect of, I'm supposed to give these to you because we've changed parishes. And they said, thank you. And they took them. And that is all the technicality you need to do. It is a 30-day requirement. Honestly, if you do it 5 weeks, that's not going to be, you're not going to lose your commission over that. But you do want to kind of calendar and make sure you don't put it off forever. The second thing I want to talk about, the second document you need to file before I get to the signature one, is you have to file proof that you either got a bond or an E&O policy, errors and omissions policy. You have to have one or the other. You don't need both. The errors and omissions policy substitutes for the bond. A bond is adequate. A $10,000 bond is adequate. But I'm going to tell you right now, you will wind up paying more money with a bond that looks like it's cheaper up front than if you get an E&O policy. You definitely want an E&O policy. So the E&O policy is better because it insures you and not just the state against any mistake you made. And it works out cheaper because of what I'll explain in a minute, and also explain in side piece chapter 4 at the end of it if you need a fuller explanation of it. But let me just first say why it's better for you. Not only does it cover you, but it is probably required by most loan signing services who might hire you. And right now that business is slow, but it can and will pick up later when the interest rates drop again. So you want to at least be eligible for that. You want to at least have the option. And they are going to require that you have an E&O policy and not just a bond. Many of them also require that it be a $25,000 one instead of a $10,000 insurance policy. The difference in price is slight. We're talking about $5 a year difference for a 5-year policy. So you're going to get a 5-year policy. I'm saying either get a 5-year bond or better yet, get a 5-year E&O policy. That is the minimum you need to do, but I would say $25,000. Now, some people even get $50,000 or $100,000, especially if you're going to do a lot in the title closing area where a mistake could cost you some money and cost the customer some money. You might want to think about getting more than even $25,000. But for most people, a $25,000 bond makes you $25,000 E&O policy makes you eligible for anything you need to do and protects you pretty well. So where do you get this E&O policy? Oh, let me first say why the bond also just costs you money. So a bond has to be approved by the clerk of court of your commission, and they stamp and sign that it's approved before you can upload it to the Secretary of State's site and it be accepted. The problem is most parishes will charge, yet again, $100. And that's in addition to charging for the oath filing if you do it then, or do it at all. They will charge you $100 to approve and the bond. And so now, again, maybe you could talk them out of that by saying, I don't need it filed. I just need it approved by the clerk of court. And they'll take it back into an office. Somebody will sign it, and they may not charge you. But they almost always charge the $100 for approving a bond because they think of it as filing. And everything costs $100 at least to be filed in any parish. Now, again, parishes may vary on this one, but I think you're much more likely to get charged $100 for this than you do for the oath of office, where you might be able to talk your way out of it with politeness. So that's $100, another $100 you don't want to have to pay. The E&O policy, however, does not have to be approved by the clerk of court. It is a statewide commercial policy that the Secretary of State is willing to accept without a parish looking it over and approving it. That puts you in the very strong position that by paying maybe $40 or $60 more for the 5 years, so you're only talking about $12 more per year, you wind up not having to pay $100. So it's a net savings of at least $40 or $60. Therefore, there's no reason anybody shouldn't get a bond instead of an E&O policy. So I recommend an E&O policy for $25,000. Now, how do you upload it if it hasn't been approved? Well, you buy it and then you take a PDF scan or a PDF that they send to you of the actual insurance policy, or even just the declarations page, the first page. That's what you upload to the Secretary of State site. Or if you go the bond route and get it approved, you have to scan that in and upload that. But meanwhile, you're out $100 for it for the same thing that you have to upload it. And the Secretary of State's going to accept either one, but the E&O policy without any kind of pre-approval. It's statewide. Where do you buy them? You see people on Facebook who are offering, they work for State Farm and they're willing to help you get one with State Farm. And that will work. I've had mixed results with that. I see on Facebook. Some it took 3 months to get it, and others got it pretty immediately. I think it depends totally on the experience that that agent has with notary bonds and not just commercial bonds or completion bonds that commercial companies use all the time to guarantee the finishing of projects. Well, this is a unique animal. So you don't want to pay an arm and a leg for it, and you don't want to wait 3 months for it. So you can get it with an agent, especially an agent you trust, and an agent who knows how to do notary, not bonds, E&O policies. But you can also get them online very easily and affordably. There are two sites that I know of that sell them, and they're selling policies by a company called Western Surety, which is a very established Wisconsin company that writes these kinds of bonds and commercial bonds all the time. So either way, you're getting a high quality Western Surety E&O policy. They sell bonds as well, but the E&O policy is what you want. Well, the two sites that I know of, and I'm sure there are others, one is called notarystamp.com, one word notary stamp, and not notarystamps.com, but notarystamp.com. Another is notaryrotary.com, one word notaryrotary.com. And either one of those is perfectly acceptable and about the same price. Now, the notarystamp.com can be a little cheaper in one sense, is that Joanna got it from there, and that she says you can get a discount code just by signing up for their newsletter or their announcements, which is good because they give you frequent discounts for those. You get 10% off, or you get a code for, I think, 10% off. And even just try the code 10OFF, 10 off, one word, 10 off, and that probably works. So you can probably get 10% off. And what would be a 5-year, 25K E&O policy is probably $182. So you could get 18, 19 bucks off of that. That's a good deal. That's a really good deal. It puts it very close to either the price of a 10K E&O policy or a 25K bond. So by all means, that's where I would go with that. The downside to notary stamp is the highest limit is 25K. So you get that discount, but you can't get more than 25,000 in coverage if you want more, or if your employer is demanding more, or you're in a business where you think that there is a real risk that if you mess up a form, you could get sued. So Tori, the discount code is just a standard one, usually something like 10 off or a new customer or something. So it's probably pretty easy to find one. Occasionally they'll post a 20% off or a 30% off coupon, but not right now. They don't have one. So this could wind up to be extremely cheap if they were running those specials right now, but they aren't. So the other one, Notary Rotary, has two advantages. One is you can get a policy better than 25,000. You can get a 50,000, maybe even 100,000, but certainly a $50,000 worth of coverage if you want it. And the second thing is they automatically and almost immediately send you a PDF of your insurance policy. So you sign up for it online, you pay by credit card or whatever, and they send you this. Whereas with notarystamp.com, you kind of have to wait a day and then write their customer service or call them and request that you get a PDF copy of it by email rather than waiting for it to be mailed, assuming you want to do this quickly. Now, Notary Stamp will send it to you by mail within a week or two, and that's fine. But try BOGO 30. Oh, well, that'll only give you the discount on the cheaper. BOGO 30 is the special they're running right now. It won't help you that much because it'll only give you a discount on the cheaper item, which isn't the insurance policy. Uh, yeah, but yeah. So, Tori, you have to tell us, did you actually get 30% off of the um, insurance policy? If so, that's a great deal, but I'm skeptical. Anyway, um, so I would just say that Notary Rotary gives you that PDF right away, whereas you have to work a little bit for it with notarystamp.com, but you'll still probably get it within a day or two, which may be all the time you need because you still have to go off and get your oath done in the meantime. Anyway, either of those I trust because they sell policies by Western Surety. So I'm not putting down State Farm or an agent. If they can get you a better rate, great, but don't let them sell you a bond. That's going to cost you more money in the long run. And don't let them, and make sure that you can get a PDF copy or a physical copy of the policy soon. Now, there's one rule about this policy that the Secretary of State requires is that it has to show on its face, on the declarations page, an end date 5 years from now. And they won't accept one that says it's a 5 year policy. They need to show an end date of today, it would be October 7th or October 8th, 2029. They need to see that that's when it ends because they need a 5 year policy. Uh, yeah, Welcome 10 will get you that, but I would go ahead and even sign up for the email list because they send so many good discounts along the way. Good. Uh, Notary Rotary goes all the way up to 726,000, but Michelle points out, I'm sure that costs a fortune. Um, and I really don't think you need that. I can see why you might want 50,000, even 100,000, but maybe also your employer is paid for it, and then you should get oh, so she said 726K, and she meant 100. I think the 100 probably cost $726 for 5 years, which is a lot cheaper than malpractice insurance for attorneys. So it's still a good deal, especially if you think of it as a 5 year policy of $35 each or something like a year. It's worth it. Okay, that's enough for E&O policy. Um, the next thing you have to download and then sign and then upload a PDF scan of is your signature page. And they'll accept any substitute for that, but why not just use the form that they have that you put a signature? I'm asking you to think a little bit before you sign it as to what signature will be the one that you routinely, reflexively do and don't have to think about. It does not have to be a cursive version of your full name. So even though your notary name with the commission has to be not a nickname, but an actual legal name and what they consider a full name, though that could be, as it is with Michele Childress. That's enough of a full name. Joanna Landry could be Joanna Landry, or she could also be J. Missy Landry, if that's correct. So that's your name, and that's the official thing that you've already registered with, probably. And if it's not correct, if it's not what you want it to be, deal with the Secretary of State's Notary Division on that before you also file the commission documents so that you don't have to wind up paying an extra fee to change your name. Anyway, um, but your signature doesn't have to be a cursive version of that. It doesn't even have to be a legible signature. I knew a notary who used what looked like Prince's symbol, that little thing that Prince used to sign his name with or consider his name to be. Um, I wouldn't recommend something like that just because customers will say, well, why didn't you sign it? So just as a matter of customer relations. But he never got in any trouble for that. He routinely used that, and that was fine. Pick something that you can sign reflexively, but that uh, it may be somewhat representative of your name or somewhat familiar, so that somebody can make out maybe at least your first name if it trails off. I used to say, however you sign your checks, that's what your notary signature should be. Even if it uses a nickname or a middle name in my case, that would be fine as a notary signature. It's not your full name, but the signature doesn't have to match that. However, people said, "How old are you that you still sign checks?" So maybe you don't sign checks and have never signed checks, but to me, that's the what can you sign the fastest. So it really shouldn't be what you sign at a restaurant when you're signing a form, which is just a squiggle. It needs to be something you can repeat, and that if the Secretary of State's office ever had to compare it, they would say it matches up. And they occasionally do look at a document that's been filed and the notary thing to make sure that it really was the notary that signed it. So try to have something you can do pretty legibly, um, or at least repetitively. That's the key. Mine has my S and my A and a CH and then trails off and has a dot in there, but I do it routinely. It's how I sign my checks, and it's fine. So on the first page, we put the name of how we registered, but on the signature part, we put how we actually sign our name. You have to, on the form, there is no first page. The first page is a fax cover sheet you throw away. But on the signature page, they have both your name that you handwrite or type in, and type. That's how old I am. And then your signature above that or in a different place. So you're going to do both of those, and it'll also ask for a date that you do that. So, just sign it and write your name. The signature can be anything that you want it to be, but that's the one that's now going to be on file with them. But the name under it, or the handwritten part, has to match up with what you had, your registration name, what LSU sent as a name to get into the exam. If it doesn't match up with that because you've since changed your name, then by all means go and call the notary division or go into them and try to work that out before you file the commission documents. Uh, yeah. All right. So that's one of the more fun things to do, is to pick a signature and stick with it. Now, the next step is to upload all of these at the same time. The signature page, an original, really a scan of the original of the oath of office, a front page at least that shows the declarations and the end date for the E&O policy. And then, of course, they're going to make you pay. I think it's 30 or $35. Everything you do, you have to pay. Now, one way you can always save $5 of credit card charge is to use your checking account routing number and account number and do it as a direct debit from your checking account rather than a credit card charge. It saves the $5 convenience fee, which can add up. But this should be the last thing you have to do right now. Of course, a year from now, you have to do your annual report, or you'll get, you got kind of calendar a year from your commission date. Kind of make sure that you look, and really I would do it 11 months from your commission date when you're eligible to file your annual report on that same site. So you want to make sure you don't lose or get suspended for a few days while you're waiting. Marielle says when she signed her name, and I signed my full name, and it was total of 28 letters. So, right, it's same. I made the mistake of naming my notary name as Stephen Allen Childress. So every time I write a form, it's Stephen Allen Childress, and I wish I'd left it as S. Allen Childress or Stephen A. Childress or just Stephen Childress. Should have done that. Would have saved a lot of cramping of my hand writing with filling out all those forms at work. All right, so upload all of those, pay them, and usually it only takes a couple of hours once you've uploaded everything that you go live, that you are commissioned. You don't have to wait for you to get an official certificate that looks like a diploma from the Secretary of State before you are an active notary. How you know that they've processed it, it's like if you do it in the morning, by that afternoon you probably can go live, is you search the Secretary of State's database where they say search for Louisiana notaries. Just type in your name and it'll tell you whether you're active. It'll just tell the world that you're active, that you are a good to go notary. If there's a mistake on there, like they got your address wrong, or they have the oath of office date wrong, they won't. Then contact them and they'll correct that. But that's easy. That is not a problem. By the way, you can change your address within the parish without having to pay a change of address fee. But if you change parishes, there's a whole process for that. So if you move out of parish, you're going to have to go through a process for that. But if you just move within the parish, you're still commissioned by the parish, but you have to update your address with the Secretary of State's office, and you don't have to pay for that. Joanna says, worth noting that you have trouble uploading. You can email the notary division all your paperwork, and they'll send you a confirmation that it was received and processed. Okay, but you have to pay them somehow. So that step is a really good idea, but how do you get the $35 to them or whatever the commission fee is? So that's probably you do it with that cover thing that I said throw away. You could scan that and email it. But I don't think you'll have any trouble uploading. I hope not, at least. All right. You will get that certificate in a few weeks and a little card that you can put in your wallet. You don't need those because anybody can search and see that you're an active um, commissioned notary. It's on the website for the whole world to see. So you don't have to carry around a card. You don't have to get a special license plate that says Notary Public, though people do, and that's nice to know that you can get one. You so yeah, but it's nice to get that diploma and to frame it, and like diploma, it's really a commission certification or something like that. But you're good to go as soon as you are considered active on that site. You've already taken your oath. Now, you'll also get an email within a week or two, maybe three, where they invite you to a ceremony that's a signing in, an oath signing ceremony or a signing ceremony or something of that sort. Uh, a swearing in, I guess. That is a formality. You're not required to go. You're already commissioned and you're not waiting for that to happen. But it's a great ceremony in Baton Rouge. You'll meet the Secretary of State. There'll be some speeches and you'll be honored, and you should be honored. So that would be a lot of fun if you can do that. It'll take your payment online, but sometimes the documents don't load. Okay, good to know. Anyway, uh, thank you for that helpful suggestion, Joanne. I appreciate it. Uh, all right, so yeah, you can go to this commission thing. Uh, that'd be great. Now, if you do get a certificate, you probably want to take a picture of it and have it on your phone. And the reason is you will need that to order stamps from some companies. To order a stamp or an embosser from certain companies, they will then immediately ask for a copy of that. Others don't. I don't think notarystamp.com asks for the proof of that. However, I don't think their stamps are all that great either. I think they're very plain. They're just kind of they're adequate. They do the job. I have one of theirs that I just throw into the glove compartment of the car just to have one to be sure that I always have one around. But it's not a really nice stamp. Where do you go to get nice stamps? Well, there are various rubber stamp stores that in your city that could use the local business. In New Orleans, uh, Ed Ed Smith Stencil is a place where Michelle got a lot of her stamps, and they can do custom order stamps, or they know what a jurat stamp would be. But you can also get these very cheap on Amazon, and I don't think there's any shame at all in ordering on Amazon. And Amazon's not going to ask you to prove that you have the commission, so you actually could go ahead and order them before you get the commission, as long as you don't use them until you have the commission. You already know what your notary ID number is because it's the same as your registration number, and you will make sure that you pick an option that doesn't have bar roll number but notary ID number. So it needs to be Louisiana specific. It has to have the seal of Louisiana. You don't want one you just create as a rubber stamp. Um, Sarah, that's a really good question. If people know of really good rubber stamp and embosser companies in various cities, they could post them in the comments. She's asking about Lafayette, but that would be really useful for people to share that information. But I find that the what you can get on Amazon is perfectly fine. Um, there is a bundle that gives you an embosser and a rubber stamp for I think $49. It's really affordable because usually you pay about that for an embosser by itself. The stamp you get with it is just okay. Again, maybe one of those you throw in your trunk and just have it rather than one you use all the time. But it's fine. It's perfectly fine. I'll tell you why I don't think they're the best stamps in a second. But the embosser that comes with that is a Trodat brand. Trodat brands have a little lip. I should have, I don't have one handy. Um, Trodat ones have a little lip so that ergonomically your hand doesn't keep a sliding off where you get, it's kind of hard to hold and use it a lot if your hand keeps slipping off. A little lip that holds where your pinky goes is really a gift if you use these things a lot. Uh, so Hubco is the company that sells them on Amazon, HUBCO, and they sell different bundles, but the bundle you want has the Trodat embosser. And the way to know that it's the right bundle is it's pink and it's a breast cancer awareness, fittingly this month, a breast cancer awareness bundle. And I have one of those, and I'm happy to have it. So that is a nice combination where you get a quality embosser and a decent stamp for that price. Also on Amazon, they have what I consider really good stamps for I think $22.99 or something like that. What makes it a really good stamp is it has a line that says "My commission for life" or something to the effect of that tells the world that unlike any other state. Oh, good.
Here.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's really useful. You can stay and answer questions. This is Michele. Everybody knows her.
Sorry, I didn't brush my hair.
Hey, well, I did, and yet mine is worse than yours. So there you go. Hubco is the one that sells it on Amazon. So I would just search Hubco Bundle Notary Louisiana and choose the pink one. The pink one, you'll see, has this lip, which makes it very...
He has 500 stamps and...
I'm a little bit obsessive about all this, but yeah, you can live with that. So this is a really good one. The stamp that comes with it is just so-so. But another stamp that you get from a different company and comes pretty quickly for $22.99 or so does say "My commission is for life." And I've only had a few cases where we're doing a refi or something like that. They say your stamp should show that your commission is for life.
Especially for out-of-state refis, because most other states do have commission end dates for their notaries. And so it's really odd to them that we don't have commission end dates.
So, Joanna, Sarah asked, do you really need the embosser?
Yes.
I say yes, because...
anything that's going to go out of the state will probably require an embossment.
Now, sometimes it's just a standard form and they have a place to do the rubber stamp and they don't need an embosser.
Especially if it's going to be a fax document.
It's going to be faxed. They're not looking for...
or scanned in PDF.
But I will tell you, the main reason you want one, customers want it. They don't think you're real if you don't have one.
Especially if you're going to do a document that is going to go to another country.
Oh my God, yes.
You're going to need to have that.
Yeah. They will always look for it. We do a lot of documents for India and the Philippines.
People who are doing temporary, if you are anywhere near a university, people who are here for an education, you're on a temporary educational visa and have to have that re-upped, will need that, or a hospital who has a temporary doctor from another country, they will need that for their...
But considering you can get it so cheap on Amazon, I don't think there's any reason. Now, do you need to carry it around with you constantly? No, because there are going to be many, many situations where a rubber stamp is okay, or not even having a stamp would be legal in Louisiana. Though, again, a customer is never going to be satisfied with you explaining that your signature is your seal, and I answered that on the exam. Here's another one, and you can see that it has no lip. I don't know what brand this is, but I had one of these that I used at school a lot because a lot of the law students have to have their bar forms notarized. And it was just awful. So I went ahead and ordered yet another one of these to have at school because this just hurts. You keep sliding off and it almost cuts you at the edge. So I don't recommend any other one unless you're going to get one that's truly sitting down and you're stamping it. I recommend the Trodat brand. And you can get this in black. It costs probably more.
This was a Breast Cancer Awareness Month sale.
Yeah. But they do it it's not just now. Okay. The Good Stamp brand. I don't know what it is. See if this is one of them. I don't think this is one of them, though. Sorry. Oh, yeah. No, well, this is a nice one. Because no, this doesn't say "My commission is for life." I want one that says, the one I have in the car that I use all the time, says "My commission is for life."
So we have some that say "My commission is for life," and then we have a really small one that just has our name and notary ID number for when we do motor vehicle titles, because there's very little space on the back of a motor vehicle title.
Yeah, but you don't have to have one. You can squeeze it in if you aim it right. So this is a Trodat brand. It's called the Printy 4913 that I got from the American Association of Notaries. It's www.usnotaries.com. Trodat Printy 4913, and it does say "My commission is for life." And this one I got in blue because I like lots of colors. And yes, I have a problem.
He has one in purple and one in red and one in green. But
I don't have one in red. I don't know why I would never.
I don't
should,
think that
I went to
there's
the
ever
University of
been
Alabama.
I think there's been one time when they've requested a specific color.
Yeah, occasionally. And the only one that there was a white refi company that always needed a black one, but fortunately I have a black one, so it wasn't a problem. Uh, your stamp and embosser has to replicate
Yeah,
your
whatever your
official name with
whatever
the
the Secretary of State says your name is.
yes. Now, it doesn't have to replicate your signature. Your signature is whatever
No,
your
like
signature
we have a
is.
friend named Melanie, and her signature is just MB.
Yeah.
So
And I wouldn't recommend you just only use initials, but anything almost a little bit more than that would be fine. However, if you're registered as Sierra F. Dominguez on,
So yeah, the name portion on, I don't know if you can see this, but the name portion at the top has to have your it's backwards, has to have your name, but then your signature when you sign it, whatever your signature is on your signature page is what your signature would be.
but the one on Amazon that's $22.99, I don't think it's Troad. Just, but you can see very clearly it says my commission is for life is part of the thing it says on it, and that one is a little larger, obviously, than the ones that don't say that. But so you might not be able to fit it into every form. However, it satisfies everybody. You know, it's always good to go. And so it's the one that at the office we just use constantly, one that looked just like that. Yeah, then Sierra, just stick with Sierra Dominguez and have your stamp say Sierra Dominguez. And I am pronouncing her name right, by the way. Everybody thinks I'm missing it, but yeah, she pronounces it Sierra. And so just do it as Sierra Dominguez. That's your official notary name. All
And
your stamps need to say that, and then your signature is whatever your signature
right, it
is.
could just be like an
And
S and a
if you
squiggle
include
or
the F routinely, that's fine. It's just so however you want to sign your name, you sign it. But
if
yeah,
you anticipate a career in mortgage work where you're going to be in a title agency, I would make it a shorter signature because you're going to be signing documents all day long.
I would make it a shorter one that you could at least pick out that it matches your actual name in some way, because customers, when they sign title forms or mortgage forms, have to write a cursive version of their name. Not on lots of stuff, but for those kinds of documents, the refi companies or the mortgage companies require that.
Yeah.
All right. So what else do we want to? Oh, that's about stamps. You can also get stamps that say specific things like jurats, but I'm going to tell you about a course we have that goes into much more depth about stamps. These are just, I'm just saying, what stamp could you order today that might get here by the end of the week or early next week that you could use on a day-to-day basis? And I say just go ahead and get that bundle and you'll be happy that you did.
If you buy a jurat off of Amazon, make sure it says parish instead of county of, because they have stock ones.
Same with acknowledgments. We never use I've never used an
I've never
acknowledgement
used
stamp
them either.
either, but the only ones I've seen on Amazon all say county of. So be very careful about it. Now, I'm going to tell you about well, we'll get to the convention in a minute, and then I'll tell you something about stamps. But the next thing I want to mention is that we do have a follow-up course we call it I Passed Now What, but it's really I'm Commissioned Now What, because we don't really discuss all this stuff about getting the yeah,
County.
we don't really discuss how to get a commission. It's Amazon, it's the website for the bundle, and you just type in Hubco Louisiana Notary Stamp or Notary Bundle, and it'll come up right away. It'll be pink, and you'll know what it is. But this course we do, I Passed Now What. We did it a couple of years ago, and we recorded it, and we were going to do a new one live, but now that they have made us have to have a whole new course because of the January exam, we're not going to do another live I Passed Now What. But it's not out of date. It's fine. You get it off our website for $39, and it goes into more on stamps, including specific stamps you might want, how to set pricing. We give a will interview form that's an intake form where you can get the information where you could then write a will from it without having to doing it orally. We talk about where you can get forms. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Attesting to signature. What are the rules about attesting to signature, and a little
The
bit
practical rules.
yeah, and a little bit on power of attorney. So it's I think 2.5 hour webinar we did with students, interactive, that is kind of practice tips beyond how to get a commission. So beyond what we're doing here, and I recommend that to you. The one thing that is completely out of date on it, though, we say, where do you get forms? And we hemmed and hawed about places you could get forms because I forgot to bring it, but there's a $956 book that's
Did we
really
go get it?
good. No, it's fine. Yeah, nobody's going to buy it. But there is a great book called the Louisiana Notary Handbook
It's
that
published by Lexus
West,
West.
yeah, or Thompson West. And it's available, probably you could go to a parish law library and borrow it. But it's 956 bucks, so nobody's going to have that for their personal practice. But what's out of date in that is that, and this I do have, is that Michelle and I spent the last year writing a forms book that is not mentioned in the iPass Now What, but I just want to mention that you can find on Amazon by searching our names, Louisiana Notary and Legal Forms with Explanations. And the difference between ours and other forms books that you could possibly find is we annotate it. We drop footnotes to explain how to fill in this blank or this form where it has to be filed and when and things of that sort. So we try to give as much information to use as possible.
It's also downloadable from his website.
Right. So you could either get the Amazon book on Amazon, or you could go to our website and get the downloadable forms. So they're in Word form already. And it's just a question of which one works better for you. If you're a good typist and you don't care about having it already formatted in Word, then this is a little cheaper. You could go with the book. It's easier to flip through the book and find the form you want, though it does have an index, obviously, and a table of contents. Anyway, this is only $99, which I know sounds like a lot, but it's cheaper than any option that's out there. Not just the 956 one. But so we do talk about where to get forms, things like wills and power of attorney forms and mortgage forms and promissory notes, forms about
Mandates for children.
yeah. So basically 170 forms. So I wanted to mention that to
Is
you.
that blank forms we can use long you can use the forms can be there are some blank forms and there are forms that we have in there that tell you how to modify them for specific circumstances.
Yeah, and either the downloaded version or the book has the same forms and annotations. So the hard copy forms book is on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, but Amazon's you'll get it in 2 days on Prime or 3 days on Prime. But I'm going to tell you another thing you could do anyway. Yeah. So, and Sierra specifically has looked at it and she thinks it's good.
The downloaded copy does have the notes and the actual forms.
Right.
But if you use the downloaded copy, please remove the forms before you present it to a client. The notes.
The annotations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really true with any form book. You don't want to overuse it and look amateurish.
Yeah, because they're all dropped in as footnotes.
But
So
the beauty of a forms book, whether ours or find another version, is it gives you a lot of confidence that you know what you're doing. Instead of really starting from scratch and creating, like we have about 40 different affidavits. So an affidavit of name change with the OMV, or what's called affidavit of one and the same, or an affidavit that does this, an affidavit of that. Rather than creating it, which you could, you're trained to do that, why not use one that's been used before and that everybody accepts? So that's what we've created for you. So that's the one thing that's really out of date with the iPass Now What is we actually do have a forms book, and we didn't mention that on there.
Another person that has forms books is the Louisiana Notary Association. They're a great organization. They were going to have a convention. Hurricane Florence happened, so they've postponed it until January, and we're going to be at the convention. So
yeah, so we don't know when in January yet.
They just said
it's in Baton Rouge this year. Next year it'll be in Covington, and then probably in Europe, probably be in like Alexandria or somewhere.
Probably somewhere more north.
She was in Natchitoches last year.
Natchitoches was really nice.
So this convention, they have panel after panel of advanced topics and beginner topics. So it's very educational.
Then they really cater to newer notaries. They're very they really want newer notaries to become a part of the association. Yeah. It's not a formal. I mean, it's not affiliated with the Secretary of State. It's not a mandatory organization, but they do really help newer notaries.
Yeah, and the Secretary of State really they interact. You can tell, for example, if you go to that swearing ceremony with the Secretary of State, there will be L&A people there Louisiana Notary Association people there that will welcome you into their organization. Of course, you have to pay for it. And they do have something that's called the Louisiana Notary
Handbook.
Toolkit
Yeah,
or
toolkit.
something kit
Yeah.
that does have forms in it. It has lots of other things too, including price surveys that are very useful. But it does have forms, but it's not a very complete set of forms. The ones that are in there are good, but they're probably only about 15 of them, you know. Uh, yeah. Oh, good. Mariel recommends it. She went. Yeah, it's so educational.
Yeah.
And you meet just a lot of other notaries.
Right, and you can
And
network and find out what if you ask
might
them.
get a job.
There's a big lunch every day, and you just sit at whatever table you want, so you can talk with notaries that you don't know, and you can find out what they're doing and what's working for them. It's
On
really
this
nice.
on the Saturday of it, we'll have a table set up with displayed our books and displaying the other things and telling people about the I Pass Now What seminar. So we welcome you. Just come by and say hi. We'd really appreciate it.
But for the first 100 participants that go, you get a little gift bag, and we will have a small jurat stamp in there for the first 100 people
Right.
that
Taking
attend.
my stamp addiction to the next level, I ordered 100 jurat stamps that will be part of your goodie bag. And there's usually less than 100 people that go to this, so probably everyone will get one. We also have fans, and there are lots of other.
And they usually have like notebooks and pens and
Yeah, the usual swag you get
Yeah.
at these things. So that's fun. And they have door prizes.
Melanie
Drawings.
won a door prize the first year.
Okay.
My friend
Pretty
who just became a notary won a door prize.
Yeah.
Sitting right next to me.
Oh, are you jealous?
Yeah, just a
Okay.
little.
Let's see.
It was nice. It had all
Yeah.
kinds of candy.
Now,
in
there
it.
is another organization that I don't know much about, but it's the Professional Civil Law Notary Association, and it's really basically the Northern Louisiana kind of networking group. But you can join either or both of them. You're not limited to. Where do you sign up for the convention? lna.org. But I don't. They haven't named the new time yet, so I don't know when you can like register for that. They were really thrown for a loop with the storm, obviously, as many of you were. So I don't know what the PCLNA does in terms of shop talks and things of that sort. I know that the LNA does that, and now many of them are done remotely. So you could be in Shreveport or Ruston. The Notary Survival Kit. Okay, that is exactly right. It's a useful handbook. It's about $170.
It's is it still 3-ring binder?
It is. It's a 3-ring binder of probably about 300 pages, of which maybe 40 pages are forms. Maybe not 300 pages, but a lot. It's useful because it's got a lot of other things. It gives images of stamps you might want. It gives that survey of what people charge for their pricing. Anyway, we talk about a lot of that in our I Pass Now What webinar. And the last note I have is please consider telling people about our fall class because they just added an exam. And so we just added a class that starts Tuesday, October 22nd. And if you use our resources, yeah, you can get it on Barnes & Noble. That's true. If you used our resources and you think they helped you pass the exam, we'd appreciate you sharing that with other people. Last questions that you could write in the chat section that we didn't address, and some of them that are more about practice, we definitely try to address in the webinar. But yeah, okay then. It took exactly an hour. It's perfect. Everyone that has responded, I always recommend that. Oh, that's so nice, Sierra. We really appreciate it. We love doing this, and we just.
Sorry about my hair.
Yeah, that's not really the problem. People are going to be talking about it.
I bet.
Yeah,
I
it's
wasn't
going to
planning-
be.
But you were
They're
complaining
going to have
about
a
the
panel
photo.
about your hair at the LNA convention. What was with that hair?
I am the shop talk coordinator. Awesome.
Oh, so tell us about that. Oh, you can't. Yeah, unlike Zoom where you could jump. I don't have one for a Louisiana Gun Trust. I have one for a sale of a firearm,
We have a form in our book for sale of a firearm.
but not a Louisiana Gun Trust.
No, we don't have a gun
I
trust.
don't know that one, Amanda. Sorry.
But we do have several forms in there for
Yeah.
the sale of a handgun. Or
This will be, as soon as we shut it off, it should be available as basically a video that anybody can watch, like a YouTube, on the website. So if you miss the first 10 minutes, it'll be there for you.
And you can always email or
Yeah. Our
any kind
email
of
is
question.
quidprolaw@gmail.com or elmwoodnotarynow, one word, @gmail.com. And yeah,
Thank you.
Joanna's proving that she's blind. Special rules about her will. Okay. Yeah, Melanie, Michelle taught me how to say your last name.
Not can.
Yeah, it's not how I was
No,
saying
he
it.
wasn't.
But thank you for being our student, and thank you for all of you for coming in. We are going to end it now.
Thank you. Bye. Congratulations, everybody.
Let's do this.